I was sitting at an event and someone talked about this self-directed thing. Now for a 23-year-old, my headspace was in a different place than like Justin Colby. I give him shit about where he was at 23, not thinking about money or real estate, thinking about something else. I was like, okay, how do I find money to do real estate? Because the guys in Las Vegas that were at home on a Wednesday at 2:00 were doing real estate. Everyone else was in a job. And so that's why I actually chose real estate, but I had no money. So when I learned about self-directing, which is basically someone can move their retirement money and be my partner. I didn't have a retirement account, but they could lend to me or partner with me on a real estate deal. And since I had no money, I could use that and leverage it and flip my first deal.
And now, Escaping the Drift, the show designed to get you from where you are to where you want to be. I'm John Gafford, and I have a knack for getting extraordinary achievers to drop their secrets to help you on a path to greatness. So stop drifting along, escape the drift, and it's time to start right now. Back again with another episode of Escaping the Drift, the show that's designed, like it says in the opening, man, to get you from where you are right now to where you want to be. And that can mean a lot of things. I mean, it can really mean no matter where you are in life, if you're somewhere where you're just on the come up or you're somewhere where you're doing pretty well and not doing what you should be doing with your money. And today we got a guest that can hopefully solve some of those problems for you no matter where you are. He is someone that I consider a friend. We met through a mastermind group that I'm in called The Boardroom. And dude, all around good dude, splits time between Orange County and Vegas, just does it polar opposite of what I do. Yep. He's in Orange County more than he's here, and I'm here more than I'm in Orange County. But anyway.
Wait, hold on. I'm here more than Orange County.
You're here more than Orange County? Are you? I thought you were in Orange County more.
I'm here.
See, I didn't even tell. Now, I'm not chopping it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. The one, the only Greg Herlean. Greg, what's up, buddy?
Hey,
how are you?
Nice, good. Nice to be here, man. I feel like the last time I was with you, you were wearing a tuxedo.
Was I?
On your way out to somewhere. And you're like, and I felt like every time I saw you before that, you were wearing a different tuxedo. Like it's weird to see you right now without a tuxedo on. Right?
I see. I'm gonna say you're wrong because the last time you saw me, I was wearing a hat and board shorts, and we were sitting in Cassidy's, which is great burger in Newport Beach,
that's
but
right.
Not exactly what I'd call a nice place.
That's right. That's the only place I haven't seen a tuxedo.
That's the only place I've ever seen it without a tuxedo on. Fair. So Greg is a guy that's come up cutting his teeth through the real estate industry. Also, man, just now really, really into self-directed IRAs. So if you have an interest in getting into real estate or understanding flipping, Greg has done some amazing projects from residential to commercial and all of those things in between, and also really runs an amazing self-directed IRA company. If you have an IRA, like a Roth or 401k, and it's just kind of sitting around limping along through the market, you might want to listen in. So anyway.
Well, look. So, thanks for having me, first of all.
Yeah, dude, of course.
And so I'm passionate about this because I see the way you talk about real estate and how it's changed, not your life, but also so many other people's lives. And so for me, the self-directed space is the same thing. I started as a real estate guy and started with zero money. The typical, probably most people's story, family with money, didn't have money, no credit. But I wanted to be in real estate. Like the people that were washing their cars here in Vegas is where my first house that I flipped was right off of Green Valley 23 years ago. Different price point then. It was a condo. And I think it was by the Players Club. Do you know where that is? Like Players something or other.
Oh, by Legacy, Legacy Golf Course. Yes. On the right-hand side, the Players Club. Yeah. So 23 years ago, you would have been selling that for $78,000. That's my number.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you a story now because you were so damn close. But so just put it in perspective. 23 years ago, no money, no credit, all the things that you've heard of, right? And I was sitting at an event and someone talked about this self-directed thing. Now, for a 23-year-old, my headspace was in a different place than Justin Colby. I give him shit about where he was at 23, not thinking about money or real estate, thinking about something else. I was like, okay, how do I find money to do real estate? Because the guys in Las Vegas that were at home on a Wednesday at 2:00 were doing real estate. Everyone else was in a job. And so that's why I actually chose real estate, but I had no money. So when I learned about self-directing, which is basically someone can move their retirement money and be my partner, I didn't have a retirement account, but they could lend to me or partner with me on a real estate deal. And since I had no money, I could use that and leverage it and flip my first deal. That's what I did. My first deal was with somebody else's IRA.
Who was your financier? Who was it?
Well, he's passed away now.
Okay. But who was he to you?
Who was it to me? He was a referral. I mean, what do you mean who was he?
No, I'm saying, how did you find this person? Was it
a small, okay. How did I find him? I opened up my bank account. This is an interesting story. Now you're going deeper. Great question. Mm-hmm. I go to Bank of America on Horizon Ridge in Eastern, and I'm opening my account with $500. And the lady asked me, she says, what do you do here in town? And I happen to have been interning at an office that has an attorney that does estate planning. And I tell her, I'm like, oh, I work with an attorney. We do estate planning stuff, blah, blah, blah. She goes, oh, well, can I refer you? I have Californians that move here all the time that need to set up their trusts and estate planning. And I said, absolutely. In that office was an estate planning attorney that I interned with, and also a financial real estate advisor. Mm-hmm. Did all lending kind of stuff. So I left that bank, went back the next day, gave her my business card. It was really my attorney's business card, with my name on the back, right?
You put it on the back.
And she called me, or gave my card out. I got a lead from this guy who moved in from California, who just retired. He comes in, gets his trust, meets my financial guy that does, talks about real estate and lending. And he's got this IRA. So I'm talking to him. Everyone leaves the room except for me and this client. We start talking about IRAs in real estate. He's 65 at the time, 66. I'm 23. He says, I'll fund your next deal with $60,000. So I fund that deal, $60,000. That's all in, by the way. Fix it and flip it, $60,000. I then sell it for $72,000. So in 3 months, I go 60 to 72. You said $78,000.
Yeah.
Are you good?
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. You were right on. So I made $12,000 in 3 months. So for a 23-year-old, when I say $12,000, I kept $3,000. I paid him $9,000 because I said, I'll give you 75% of the profits. I didn't know I was negotiating. I was just trying to fund a deal and flip it. I negotiated it. I gave him $9,000. He made $9,000 on his $60,000.
And he was happy as a clam.
Well, and then he became my investor for a long time.
It's funny. I want to unpack a lot of that as I literally.
You asked an interesting question.
I'm fixing this behind my thing behind me failed for some reason. I'm not sure why. You know what? We're not going to.
There you go.
We're not going to care. See, it's like Joe Rogan, man. We don't even pause for this. I'm not editing that out.
No, keep it. I like it.
I was actually listening the whole time because this is monkey work.
I know you were, but I didn't know there was a harder question coming from below.
No, I could get this, but I want to unpack a lot of that story, right? Because for your come up, folks. For your folks that are on the come up, there's some great lessons there. Number one, which was why real estate? Well, you took a look at the life that you wanted to have, building a life by design instead of like so many people get caught up in like, when I make this amount of money, I'm going to try to make some money, then I'm going to do this. You were like, okay, who's living the life that I want and what are they doing? And then you just kind of replicated what they did. It's a lot easier to do it that way than think I'm going to go out and make a bunch of money and then I'll be able to do this or figure it out.
100%. Like I when I first got into what I did, it was truly lifestyle. Like my dad was in the Air Force. When we moved here, they lived off of Silver Springs, right here, same kind of area, a little 3-bedroom place, and worked his ass off. Great parents, but never saw my dad. And so for me, it was like, I'm starting a family. Church reasons, I started a family at 23. So I had to. So I was like, I've got to figure out how I can be home with my kids. And truly real estate was where it was at. People talked about real estate. They liked it and they were home. And for me, being home at every practice and on a Wednesday at 2 or 3 o'clock, that was, and thankfully it wasn't drugs. Like the guy was doing real estate and I wouldn't have followed into drugs, but lifestyle was my why.
That's so funny because we're so shaped by our parents, right? And that's so interesting that probably, I don't know anything about your dad, but we all have fathers and that is what it is. But coming out of that military background, I'm sure that there was a level of discipline just because that was his life. It was being a very disciplined lifestyle. But it's interesting that I think where you achieve real growth is a man in that aspect is where you take away the things from your father that were great, but you don't repeat the sins. And I think so many people get caught up in that hamster wheel of repeating the sins. It's always great to hear folks that don't. I mean, I was kind of similar. My dad, my parents divorced when I was pretty young. My dad wasn't really around that much when I was a kid. He was a very, very, very successful attorney. But as I got older, it's fun. As you get older, that relationship got much, much better. It was, it's funny. I always talk about my friends that, when you're growing up and you're like 15 and your buddy's like, my dad owns the hardware store. And you're like, oh, that sucks. You get all the free stuff to make a go-kart and whatever else, blah, blah. My dad's an attorney. I don't get anything.
Nothing.
Until you get into business and you're like, oh, thank God my dad's an attorney.
Yeah.
Because I can't even quantify the millions of dollars in free legal advice I got from my dad. 100%. But that desire, I have a lot of that too. Like, I don't miss anything for the kids. Yeah. Like I go, it is, and man, it sucks about that is, and I'm going to here's some parenting advice. I'm going to give you that. Anybody listen to that? You never know when the last practice or the last game is. You never know. I mean, are your kids still playing sports? I know. I think they are. Yeah. They're still playing it. Yeah. My son was a lacrosse player and now he's retired for medical reasons. Yep. He had some issues that prohibit him from continuing to play, but man, I miss it so much, being able to go to every practice and every game like that. I miss it. It's great.
It's the best.
But that was the lesson there. But the next lesson of what you were talking about was the lady at the bank. Had you not, my buddy Bradley always says, the more hands shake, more money you make. And I think that's a great example of just by putting yourself out there continuously, your whole life kind of changed because of that interaction, that one interaction.
It a little bit gives me the chills to think about because it's nostalgic being here in Las Vegas right now. Literally up the road is where this began. She had no idea what she was doing, good, bad, or indifferent. It actually was really good. But she changed my life because of those. And it wasn't just one card.
Yeah.
She gave my card out in one week or month, at least 3 or 4 times. So I had my first 3 or 4 investors. And for a 23-year-old, a guy giving me $60,000 from his IRA that we now partnered on.
Yeah. It's a big deal.
Huge deal. And he actually lent to me till the day he died. And the terms changed, right? I gave him 75% on the first deal and 25 to me, and I did all the work. But it went over and over, and I got to prove the system and how it worked. And until I could create my own retirement account. So I wasn't even in the retirement business at all. I was just like, how do I find funding for my business? And if I would have said I'm an intern, if my answer was I'm an intern, here's my $500, thank you. I don't know what would have happened. I mean, I would have figured it out, but it would have been a different story. Instead, I was like, I recall exactly like, how do I get her, a person who talks with people with millions of dollars every day?
So this was a conscious choice.
100%. Because I was a runner boy at the end.
I would have been opening bank accounts at every bank in town.
Right?
This. Like, here's $500.
I should have scaled that a little bit. but I truly I paused and I was like, what? How do I get her to give me referrals from the bank? And so that's what I did. And so I gave her the card, and then obviously I sent flowers. And a 23-year-old sending, she was probably 60 years old, not getting flowers very often from bank, her clients, and the referrals kept coming for a little while, and it was awesome. So that's how I got my first lead, and I introduced this person to a subject that I just learned about, self-directing.
Yeah.
And most people in most ages, when you hear the word IRA or self-directing, or let me introduce you to someone who's going to talk to you about avoiding taxes, that's not near as exciting as what you talk about. You and I can talk about, we talk about deals and numbers and commissions and or flipping. That's exciting. I think it's just as exciting if you understand the self-directed space, avoiding taxes, deferring taxes, and finding money. Now I know because I own a trust company that does it, which was not my plan 23 years ago. But there's over $4.6 trillion in IRAs in the United States.
Just dead.
100 million IRAs in the United States. A third of the people you and I know could potentially be your partner in your next real estate deal. So it's when people say they can't find money, it's like, I can very quickly, that banking story is a simple example, but we can talk about many examples of almost everyone around you has money that could either partner with you or lend to you, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I think, again, I always try to pull key points out of what everybody says, but dude, it's the key is developing relationships in a way where people want to help you. The fact that you thought about that lady and you said, she probably doesn't get flowers very often, and knew that would be a button that would help her that's next level. For me, I was lucky enough in I guess I was probably 22 years old when I had this job, but I had a job in Orlando, Florida as the promotional manager, director of a restaurant called Jungle Gyms, which was on Church Street. And essentially, and we had one on iDrive. And my job essentially was to go out and bribe concierges to send us business at all the hotels. That was my job, right? And some of them were easy, right? I would walk out with, like you, I had a stack of business cards with their name on the back and my name, whatever, that were like coupons they could give out. And I'd hand them a bunch with like $200 and be like, hey, when I see these come back and you run out, call me and I'll come back and bring you another envelope. Some of them were easy. Some of them were a little harder because everybody was playing that same game. So there was guys that I knew liked to go play golf and I would take them to play golf. And there were guys like to go to the Magic games and I had to take them to Magic games, and just kind of depended on how much business they could drive. But at that early age for me, similar to you, that's when I really learned the value of being able to foster relationships for referrals. Yes, there's the clumsy way of handing people money, but the ones where I had to specifically find out what was going to move the needle for them were always so much more effective.
Well, and I would say, I mean, this is why we're sitting here together today. Like, I'm not outgoing. I think that's changed over time. I think I was very outgoing 23 years ago, and now I'm a little bit more closed off. And
you got more to lose.
A lot more to lose, and I know I pay a lot more in attorney fees now. But I remember meeting you, and you're so good at this. Like, at first, because you and your wife, you have a beautiful wife, beautiful family, you come in with your I think strong and great energy and attitude. It's almost like, well, what's wrong with them? Because it's so no, like, and that's sad.
Oh, there's a lot.
Well, maybe there is, and that's the wrong mentality, by the way. But I'm
a realist.
But I'm just being honest with you. At first, I was like, okay, so what's their thing? And so I think I'd met you 2 or 3 times beforehand. Like, oh, he's from Vegas. You're from Vegas. You guys should meet. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, all right, yeah. And so, but by the 3rd time, you had left, and the first 2 times they told me who you were, Justin, I think, and maybe Kent. You got to meet him. He's cool. I'm like, okay, whatever. There's a lot of cool guys, right? The 3rd time after, I remember this. We had met. We went to dinner. I don't know where we were. Maybe
we were Golden Steer.
No, it was before that.
It
was before that. It was the one. Anyways, we're at dinner. You and your wife were there.
It was in Texas. We're in Austin.
We were in Austin.
Yeah.
And you left, and I was like, I've got to meet this guy. You are consistent. And I appreciate that, because it's hard. Some people, you just feel like your energy, it's so strong. It's like, is he always like that? And you are, in a good way. And so I really appreciate that. I don't see that as much. And I'm also, at times I'm leery of it. And every time you've been consistent and just a good person, and you lead first in giving. Sorry, I'm like,
no, man. Hey, you're like, bring it on. This is working for me. I'm good. This is great.
No, but it's not like me to do that. And people have been saying for a while, you need to meet John. You got to talk to John. And finally, after you and I've had a little one-on-one time, I was like, I get it. Like, this is you. And anyway, so.
Well, you know what's funny? You said something too to me once, and I thought it was funny. And I'll tell you, it was by design, which is, you said to me, you go, man, whenever you leave, it's like the fun gets sucked out of the room. I think you said something to that effect, which great compliment.
There's some truth to that.
So great compliment. But here's the thing, what you have to say is, and I learned this a long time ago, which was scarcity builds brand value. So I always, when I'm meeting new people or I'm getting introduced to a new group or whatever it is, I always try to go in little spurts. Like, I'm never going to be so where are we going now? The first time I meet somebody, I'm like, okay, cool. I got to go. I got another thing.
So that's when I know we're good, is when
that's how you know.
When you're like, hey, where are we going?
Yeah, when I wake up on your couch, then you know we're good. That's how it works now, because I'm never leaving at that point. No, but I think that's true in anything. I think scarcity does build brand value, and I think I can't control how boisterous I am on occasion, especially with a couple drinks in me, whatever. But at the same time, I'm not the guy that's going to hang around too long. I'm not going to I'm going to grow on you like a fungus and not wear on you like I don't know. This is probably went the wrong way.
Relationships. You're talking about relationships.
About building relationships.
Yeah,
that's
anyways,
what we're talking about.
You've done a great job of it, and I've noticed it, and so thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. So let's get back to helping some people at home. Instead of they're like, dude, are these guys going to make out, or what's going on? This is getting weird. So real estate, let's talk about that, right? When you started out, you started out with condos, right? That was the first flipping thing. It was just single family. How, what was the first single family home that you went to flip that you were like, I might be over my head? I know there's got to be a day when you're like, this is probably more than I could chew.
There was a lot, to be honest, because almost I don't believe in passive, first of all. You know, when people are like, oh, I'm looking for this passive income, you know, you got the team and you got the second you start, or the time you start passing things off to others because you think it's passive, that's when things go wrong from my experience. And so I don't yearn for this passive income. And so I'm giving you a long answer to your question. After my first couple deals, I thought, well, I can scale this. And so I'll hire someone to do most of this part that I don't like. Mm-hmm. It really comes down to people and relationships. So when I got in over my head, it was because I trusted too much a new person that took over the management of jobs, and the waste and the timelines. Time is money, as we all know, but like when you're the one borrowing the money.
Oh, the interest rates you alive.
And that's why I got into the money business, because I was like, after I had flipped hundreds of single family properties, and I found out that if you have the wrong team, which is where I got in over my head, it wasn't about one deal, it was about scaling too quick. Mm-hmm. And so I got in over my head that way because the debt got heavy, timelines got expanded. And so I learned a valuable lesson, which is why I got into lending business, is the bank always gets paid.
Always.
And so I started getting into the lending business, where I found investors, and I created some funds, and I raised over $1 billion actually, and became someone that could find funds for different projects and get a small percentage. And that's what I began loving, because I could not manage so many people and so many variables, and didn't enjoy it, by the way. I don't like walking through. I like show me the photos before, and then I'll walk the after maybe, but like I'm not into the before stuff.
What was the most flips you ever had going at one time?
At one time, single family homes, 9 or 10. So not crazy.
All right.
But that's a lot for me. That was a lot.
Okay. So in 2011, 12, it's funny you talk about the passive deals that go south. I got involved with some guys. I raised some money. And that money then we raised some debt that it was not good debt. It was too expensive, because the idea was, with the $2 million we raised, we could lever to 12. Right? We could, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, that means we had $2 million in cash, and with that money, we could make our down payment. We could really borrow to have the borrowing power of $12 million.
I know the story.
But you know the story already?
No, I've lived this story.
You've lived this story. Right, no. It gets worse. Okay. It gets so much worse. Okay. So you got $2 million earning heavy debt, and the only way to make it work is you got to turn the money. Within 3.5 months, we had 87 single family flips going at the same time. And these were not light carpet paint rehab. These were serious projects with way too much moving parts. And it was a disaster. It ended up, it was an unmitigated disaster that, Brandon Benningham posted something the other day and said, if you don't want to burn it all down and go work at McDonald's at least once a week, you're not entrepreneuring hard enough.
Well, I did see that, yeah.
And I was like, bro, I wanted to go panhandle. I didn't want to work at McDonald's. I wanted to just be done with it. So yeah. And I agree with you. Single family's hard, man.
Well, but what I'll tell you though, that when you tell that story, it reminds me of in 2009, here, while the market was crashing and was buying homes, the footsteps here, the court, I was like, well, it's getting so busy down here. I'm competing with all these courthouse steps, and I'm smarter than all these guys. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go buy and sell and flip hotels, small little 100, 150 room hotels, motels, right? Because I'm smarter, right? So, and I had a good thing going. It was, cranking out good money and income. So similar to, I think, your story, where again resonates a little bit, is I decided that I was going to go borrow about $30-something million and put up some of my own money and investor money, and we were doing hotels. Well, the problem with that is when things go wrong in 30, and we had 6 hotels at one time. When it's similar to 80 homes when things go wrong and you're off by 3 months, well, on $30 million, the monthly net It's real.
It's a monster.
So bigger is not necessarily better. And so that's one of the things I love when I talk about self-directing. It's like, look, invest in what you know and understand. Go for your singles and doubles, what you know. Mm. Now you're going to run into the triples and you'll get some home runs as well. But you don't need to like, oh, Brandon's doing, or Tom's doing McDonald's and Starbucks. If it's working, do it. Scale it.
Who brought you? Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need to like jump over into doing hotels. And so I backed off hotels after that. I was like, okay, I'm good.
You know what's so funny though about what you just said, and a lot of it I think has to do with the optics you're around every day. What you see every day is what you wind up with. I'll never forget this. And I love this dude. Bridger Pennington is such a good dude, and I like him very much. And when I first met Bridger, right, he's like, oh, I'm a fun guy. I know how to raise funds, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, and I think I had him in this seat years ago. This is maybe 3 years ago now. I said to Bridger, I said, I'm thinking about doing a single family hold fund. I want to raise blah, blah, blah. I'm pretty well capitalized. I want to start a fund and raise some money. Yeah. He's like, well, how much do you think you want to raise? And I go, I don't know, like 5 million. And he stops and looks at me and goes, just make some phone calls. Like right. What, like $5 million? What are we talking about? And it's so funny because now here we are 3 years later. This is going to sound really weird, but it's as easy. If you can raise 2 million, you can raise as much as you want. You really can.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that I keep going back because it's what I know, but the self-directed space to me is a third of the people are in the stock market and don't like it. They don't know their options. And so that's why my subject I enjoy talking about, because most people just don't understand what their options are. So doing a quick phone call, people will call me like, hey, Greg, I know you've raised a lot of money and I'm doing this deal. I'm like, well, I don't raise money really anymore, but I can help you. And they're like, well, I'm looking for $1 million. And I'm like, look, if you just like did a post or did an email and just said, hey,
to your friends.
Yeah. To your friends, I've got this. Oh, if you have an IRA that you don't like, you can partner with me in this next deal. And I'd say like 7 times out of 10, if they do it a couple times, maybe not just one post and one email, you got to work a little bit more than that. They would raise $1 million, $2 million very quickly. It's all around you. And so that's, I mean, you nailed it. It is all around you but you still have to work for it. And so that's what people think they can do a post. I guess the other thing I'll see is people like, okay, I love the self-directed space. Let's do a podcast or let's do a webinar one time to their clients who've never heard about self-directing or retirement accounts. And then they're like, well, we didn't raise like $5 million. It's like, it takes work. The reason why you're successful is because you still work really hard.
Yeah.
You work less, but you work really hard at what you do.
I work efficiently. Although these days, God, I feel like I'm working like it was 20 years ago.
That's because you got a lot of lights in there.
Yeah. There's a lot to do. But yeah, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I can't sit still. So when I was like, well, what if we did this? Why don't I do a 90 days to luxury challenge where I just spin up an entire business again just to see if I can do it? Yeah.
Prove to yourself.
Oh, I'm doing it. There's not proving it to myself. Yeah. I'm doing it. So now in your investment space, because I know you don't like to hold. You're not a holder guy.
I don't hold, yeah.
So what projects do we look for now?
Right now, well, look, since I'm a flipper, fortunately that works in today's environment, right? I mean, there's if you can buy anything and it can cover debt, you should probably keep it. But my answer is different probably than everyone else's. What I like is I like industrial still. I like land development. There's a little more upside on it, a little more risk.
Are you doing land entitlements?
Land entitlement for sure. And
for those who don't know what that is, explain what that is, Greg.
Well, look, there's an art to...
Because this is an art.
Look, getting entitlements is really about relationships. And so if you have the right relationships and can find the right land, the value that you can create just by getting it entitled with the city. For example, if you get a raw piece of dirt here and someone's owned it for a very long time and they've been trying to get it zoned, whatever they try to get zoned, industrial or 6 to an acre, whatever it is, but can't get it done. And it's been sitting forever, but somebody that's what they do for a living. Mm-hmm. And it's not what I do for a living, but there's people that I know that do it for a living. So I can help fund. They go and get it entitled. They've got the relationships, the legal, the certain people in the city to get it approved and entitled. That value of getting it entitled, which takes sometimes, if you're not in California, if you're in California forever, but I would never do this in California, by the way.
Yeah.
But in Nevada, it's taking longer nowadays. But still, if you can get it done within a year or less, you don't have to move dirt, which I think is one of the most powerful things, because once you start moving dirt, that costs money, takes time. And so if you can just get the property, entitle it, flip it to someone who loves to move dirt, there's a lot more upside.
Well, it's funny. Anytime I get pitched a land deal for entitlements, especially in California, my first question is always, who do you know? I don't even care where the project is. Who's connected with the city council? Who's connected that's going to get this done?
I'm Ed.
Yeah,
right?
That's it. If I don't, I'm Ed, right?
He's Ed.
I do call him Ed on things. Like I got pitched just outside of an hour and 15 minutes from downtown Beverly Hills, an oil lease that these guys have been running as an oil lease forever. California's running the oil business out of California. They're running them out. And these guys have essentially were in a weird sort of way gifted 385 acres by one of the big oil rig companies, the way they structured it. Wow. And they've got to cap all the wells. They've got to do all of the environmentals. And I'm thinking to myself,
which is not easy,
dude, there's no way you're going to get this done. And they're like, no, we're going to get it done. And we're going to modernize the pumps with the wells that we do have so we can up production. I'm like, dude, this is.
What's the over under? 5 years.
Exactly. And I'm like, who do you know? And they're like, well, that's why we're calling you. I'm like, you're calling me? No, not for California oil well conversion. This was bad. So yeah, it's always about who you know. And I know in Vegas right now, industrial is gold. If you could get something zoned for industrial, it's crazy. One of the guys that works here, our head of commercial for Simply Vegas, has a bottling company that was looking to, wanted to move here, wanted to be here. 1 million square feet they were going to put up. They were going to tilt up 1 million square feet. I would finance the whole thing. State of Nevada said no, because you can't bottle in Nevada. The reason you can't bottle in Nevada, here's why. Because what does it take to bottle a beverage? Water. Where's that water go? You're bottling it. You're shipping out of the state.
Yeah.
So they were like, no.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So it was a consoling period for him where he went from a deal that he would have made $1 million on that deal.
Yeah.
And it completely fell apart.
Industrial's good. I don't love office. I think residential is always good. With all that's happening in this city, I'm in for residential in Vegas.
What do you think about, I know that right now, one of the big, and I guess the current administration is just hell-bent on demolishing anybody that makes 50 cents from real estate right now is what they're hell-bent on. What do you think about this new idea or the legislation that they're going to try to prohibit not industrial, that's the wrong word. They're trying to prohibit institutional buyers in the single-family home space. Have you heard this?
I haven't.
Yeah. So
they're trying to exclude them?
Well, no. So Jackie Rosen just introduced a bill essentially giving, this is not really the teeth of it. This is the opening of the mouth before you show the teeth. Jackie Rosen just introduced a bill that states that it would give HUD or Fair Housing the ability to investigate institutional buyers for price gouging and rents. And the Biden administration has gone so far as to say that they would like to see Wall Street out of the single family home business. I'm torn with this. I got to tell you, I'm really, really torn with this. They say that 17% of all single family homes now in the Vegas Valley are owned by institutional buyers. They're owned by institutional. So I'm curious about your thoughts about this. And I'm
learning it right now from you. I didn't know
let's start with this. Let's start with this. If you had to put a number, let's put a number, because I have a number in my head that I'd say, okay, I can swallow that number. Let's put a number on the maximum amount of rentals one entity or one publicly traded entity would be allowed to own in a market. What would that number be for you?
I think over 20% would be a lot.
No, I'm not saying over 20%. No, I'm not talking about percentage of market. I'm saying okay, here you are Greg Herlean, Wall Street genius. We're just going to give you that title today.
I'll take it.
We'll give you that title. And you own a hedge fund that is backed by publicly traded BlackRock. Sure. All right. You're going to go into Vegas and buy up a bunch of homes. What is the number of homes you should be allowed to own? Not as a percentage, the actual number of doors that institutional buyer should be allowed to own in a marketplace. Is there any or none? Is it unlimited?
I think I don't think you can put a limit. I don't like the limit. It's the marketplace. And I feel like there's opportunity with these institutional buyers because of how they buy and sell, that private investors or smaller investors will get more opportunity from they're publicly traded. They have certain numbers they have to hit, and they'll sell and or hold differently than you and I, which I think creates opportunity for us. And so, I mean, would I want them to go out and for me, it's a percentage thing, not a number of houses thing, because I mean, this is your world as far, I don't know the residential, so I don't know how many houses are sold every year. Maybe you could tell me that number in Vegas, let's say, how many homes are sold. And
I mean, that number's down, but I don't think it's really about the number of houses sold. What I think it's about is it's about here's the problem. The problem this has created.
What's the rub for you? Because
no. Here's the problem this has created. Right, let's say I got your dad. Right, your dad. What was his rank? I need his rank.
No,
do you know?
No.
We'll call him Captain.
Missile Commander.
We'll call him Commander. Missile Commander. Okay, that's good. Missile Commander Herlean.
He didn't fly.
Wants to buy a house, and he wants to use his VA loan. Right, for this. We'll act like you're still a little kid. Just so little Greg can have a place to play. Little Greg can have a place to play in the backyard, right? So Missile Commander Herlean's going out buying a house. And every house he writes an offer on with his VA loan, there's also a cash offer that comes in from BlackRock. BlackRock just grabbed them, cash, because they'll play market, because they have to move their money. They don't care. They don't need a deal.
They can overpay.
They just want to commoditize single family homes and turn America into renters. That's the goal. So my problem is not even a percentage. It's the average buyer can no longer compete. That's the problem, because they're buying for two completely different purposes.
I agree with that. I just don't think that they can. I mean, you think they can control that much of it?
17% of all the houses that are purchased here. That's a big number. Look, let's be very, very clear. I am a free market capitalist to the end of the earth. I believe in the free markets, but I also believe that monopolies are not good for anything.
I agree.
And I think that we are approaching very quickly. BlackRock is creating through not just, because now they're not just doing their own stuff. They are now funding subsidiaries and smaller funds that are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So they're kind of the head of this. Yeah.
I mean, until I've lived it where I'm, I haven't heard what you've said, first of all, but number two, what follows or comes from that, I think if my dad got that phone call that he's losing out every time he makes an offer, I think I'd have a strong opinion about it, but I haven't heard that happening really.
Inventory's tight because there's not a lot of homes out there because of the interest rate debacle that happened. That's right.
Before. A lot of people aren't buying it, so that's why I'm not hearing about it right now.
Yeah. So my question is, have you heard about the food thing? The food thing?
I'm learning so much today.
I know.
Tell me about the food thing.
If you look at all of the companies that make our food, from Nestle to Pillsbury to they're all owned by two things. Two companies control the entire food supply in America, which I think is fucking crazy.
That's not okay.
Right. So are we headed that way with housing based on what's going on? And at what point do you say, oh shit, this is too late, when everybody's paying 30% over market rate for rent?
Well, I think the answer in general terms is what you mentioned earlier, which is it's dangerous in any industry for there to be a monopoly.
Yes.
I mean, and the government's shared that too, right? They've tried to stop that. And so what is that percentage? If that's going to happen in real estate, there's going to be regulated as well. What that percentage is, I have no idea. But it sounds like it might be at where it needs to be right now.
I don't know. And if you look at all of the stuff that comes, I mean, look, the government came for our commissions. They came for, now I read a thing today that Biden is decided that title insurance, and I'm also in that business, Biden has decided that title insurance is the evil enemy. So he's trying to get that waived for everything.
But I mean, right now, if that's the case, I mean, it's different for everybody. For my son who's buying a house right now, that's that's not good for him. But let's say you and I, who have held for a long time, and the market's not that great, and these guys are overpaying.
It's great.
Like, you know what?
I get it.
Like this.
I get it.
You know, so I think it depends on, and it'll churn again.
That's if you are in all facets of this business like I am literally in all facets of what we do. And it's hard because yes, with the investment hat, you're like, this is great. I can go out and pick up properties. I can flip them directly to funds and it's nice and easy. I know they're always going to close. Their money's always green. It's wonderful. Then you look at the broker side of it. You're like, people want to buy houses. They need that. They know affordable housing is becoming a real issue. You know, I think there was a report that came out the other day that said to live comfortably in Las Vegas now as a single person, to live comfortably is a word. Now, I don't know what comfortably means, but it said comfortably is $96,000 you have to make. That's a lot.
That's insane.
That seems like a lot.
Well, is this going? I mean, what's crazy to me is to think in California on the beach, it's whatever you name the number, 1,000 or more, definitely more, but 1,000 at least per square foot, probably more close to 2,000 or 3,000.
Oh, I think you're two.
But at least
it's 2,000 a foot where we are for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, depends on where you're at, right?
Yeah.
Here in Las Vegas, where there's no beach, homes are going for $1,000 a square foot.
Yep.
Which even 5 years ago didn't happen.
Was crazy.
It's insane. And so now, going along with the subject you brought up, people ask me, do you buy or rent in California? And most of the time it makes sense to rent.
It does.
And so is that what happens? So in the market here, now we become renters. And so with our discretionary income, we're investing in Blackstone or in other investments. And so it's the same kind of returns. I don't know that it's all bad. I mean, in California, if you could rent a place next to your place and pay $15,000 a month rather than buying it for $6 million, that's a deal.
It probably makes sense.
It's a deal.
Probably makes sense.
Anyways, is that going to happen here in Vegas?
No.
Could.
Well, dude, I remember when there was a unit at, now it is the Waldorf, what was then the Mandarin Oriental. And there was a unit there and it closed for $11.50 a foot. And everybody in town was like, what in the world is, like, how is this even possible?
Yeah.
And now
you couldn't find anything close to that.
No, but you throw out, I mean, last night, our Inner Circle Awards, we have one of our agents, her husband, they build custom homes in McDonald Highlands. And she's like, I got 3 houses coming up very soon, one 9,200 square foot, one 8,500 square feet, one 88,000 square feet. And and we were talking to her, was like, what are you going to price? She's like, well, about 1,000 a foot. And I'm just like it just rolled off her, her tongue.
Build price?
Yeah. No. That's what their resale price, not the build price. Jeez, Louise, no way. Right. They get killed.
That's insane.
They're going to sell for 1,000 and they'll sell them all.
Yeah.
They'll sell every single one of them. It's wild how quickly that's escalated.
For the Four Seasons here, same thing.
Same thing. Yeah. Same thing. All right. So next question that I always ask everybody. And I like this. We kind of skipped over this at the beginning because we just kind of got sidetracked because there you go.
The love fest.
Yeah, tell me how great I was. Which we can go back to that too. That's not even a problem. No, but I like to find out what the first hustle was as a kid. What was the first thing Greg Herlean did to make money?
Well, the very first thing, I mean, I hustled my whole life and I didn't realize I was hustling when I was hustling. My parents did good. The first hustle, bless her heart, was my mom got me a newspaper out in Chicago, and it was an everyday newspaper. Mm-hmm. I'm old. Newspaper.
Yeah, newspaper, really?
I was 11 years old, and my mom drove, and we delivered newspapers. And every morning at like 5 a.m., I was in middle school. I was back when Chicago, the Bulls and Jordan era and Walter Payton. And so I'm a big Chicago fan, but I remember delivering the newspapers and then the big payday, you work all year long for Christmas to come around, because then you throw in the envelope. They could give you a gift at Christmas
something,
time,
yeah.
And you'd get, that would be like, that would be the big time of the year. So that, and then when we moved to Idaho, I mowed lawns. I mowed a lot of lawns. Mowed lawns and shoveled snow. So when the snow came out, I'd start shoveling, and those were my kind of. And in Idaho, you get your driver's license at 14. So
still,
I think so.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So I started working. I had little jobs until pretty much my whole life.
That was the hustle.
That was my hustle.
If you were to go back and talk to, now that was 11-year-old Greg. Let's go talk to 21, 22-year-old Greg. What would you tell him now to do different than you've done so far?
What I would say, that's a good deep question.
See, other podcasts do like the superficial shit. No, we're going, man.
You know, when I was then, I told you I saw the guy, literally, I'll never forget. I know where I could drive to his house. It's real close to here. Washing his boat on a Wednesday at 2:00. I wanted that lifestyle, and I wanted to pay, and then I needed to pay my bills. I would go back and tell my Greg at 21 is give way more. Don't stress paying your bills. Easier said than done.
Yeah.
But it took me about 7 years to learn that lesson, because the second that I gave way more than I wanted back in return, it multiplied so quickly. The stress left my body of needing to pay the bills or needing to flip the next deal. The relationships came just more fluid. And I would say to old Greg, ask first what that person needs. Now, I was doing that, but in a selfish reason.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing it because I need to pay my bills. Like, what do you need, John? At 21. Oh, cool. You need 12% of your money? I'll figure it out. Rather than like, what is John, like, how can I really help John? Like, truly. And so that's what I would say to, my 21-year-old self is give hard, love hard. And as you do so, it will come back, and those big stresses will not be so big.
That's awesome. So the attorney that you were with, right, during that time when you were 21, 22, was that your mentor?
The financial guy that worked in the same
financial
office.
Guy was the mentor. He was the one.
He was a life insurance and hard money lender.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason I bring that up is because now you're at a place in your career where I know you have the podcast with your son.
Yeah.
Where you get to do that. So how much are you enjoying mentoring him? And before you answer that, I'm going to back up one question I think I'd asked before, because I'm kind of in this place. Was there a time when he didn't want to hear anything you had to say and tell me it stops at some point? Because right now my 16-year-old doesn't want to hear anything from me at all.
Well, look, most of, I got 5 kids. And so they don't, my kids are great kids. And I feel like my recipe, I wish everyone followed it because it is working and has worked. But I didn't know it was working at the time. Mm. And again, this is a long answer to your question. He was not concerned or aware very much of what I was doing when I was trying to teach him or share with him. But I knew that. So I didn't put it on him, but he was on, look, I worked. I was on phone calls, doing emails. He'd come to some meetings. He'd see me on stage once in a while, but I didn't push it on him. Some people are like, oh, you do the IRA thing. Can I set up a Roth for my kids? Like, the answer is yes. Did I? I'm an IRA guy.
Yeah.
No. Fucking, I can say that, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
He needs to fund his own IRA.
Yeah.
He needs to lose money and make money on his own. And so what my job was, I feel like as a parent, and my son is crushing it right now, and he does not work for me, is my job was to allow him to dream bigger and understand what we were doing and what things cost, and to be a good person. And that's at least, there's other things, God and love, all those things are the recipe.
Sure.
But him seeing how hard I worked, and when we're on a private plane and they think it's whatever. And by the way, we were in Southwest the week before, but we're on a private plane and they're like, why didn't we do this last week? I tell them, this is what it costs.
Yeah.
They need to know. And so I would every once in a while. And so I think they heard, again, I'm sorry, it's I get real emotional.
No, dude, do it.
But they probably heard 5 or 10% and saw 5 or 10% of what I was doing. And thank God that I feel like so far, my first one is now out of the house. He's married, paying his own bills in Dana Point, 1 bedroom, $4,000 a month place. And I'm just proud of him because he's a good person.
Yeah.
He's a better me. at 21, and he works hard. And so all I want from him is to be able to dream bigger than me, work harder than me, and be a phenomenal lover to his wife and friend. And if he can do that, in my opinion, whatever he does, he's gonna have success.
Got it.
So and that's what your kids are seeing. And so if they can take 5 or 10% of what you have, and also the things they don't like about you, and make their own, and that's what they're doing. And so, yes, they weren't aware, but they were, and they are.
They are. See, I love having questions or conversations about mentorship and going both ways, right? Like, I've had people on here that have been mentored by really successful people. Like, how did you get that mentorship? And I like hearing it the other way now. We're like, okay, here's the really successful guy. Have you had people approach you to be like, oh, I want you to mentor me, this and that? And have any of them done anything that would catch your eye or make you want to help them? When you got 5 kids, it's hard to say yes to somebody else. I get that real quick.
Look, I get asked that a lot, not like a lot, like every day. I'm real selfish about my time, but I also love and appreciate a hustler that's a good person. And so I say no first, always. And I always will, probably a few times, because I feel like that's part of the message. And I'll tell them, like, hey, look, timing's not good for me, and here's why. And I want you to know that I was told no many, many, many times until I got my yeses. Still today, I get no's. When I go home, I get no to all no. and so, yeah. But once I said, so if you do some of these things and you come back and we're still in, then we can talk. And that, it's like when someone says they want something and I'm like, okay, well, answer these 6 questions. I just want to see if they answer 6 questions.
What are the 6 questions?
Well, no, I'll whatever the subject is, I'll respond with, and send me this. And they're not all easy. It's like, hey, I'm looking for $1 million, blah, blah, blah. Well, do you have a summary? Have you put together send me this, and this?
Yeah.
Silence, radio silence. It's like, you just want $1 million at 12% or 50% of the deal? No.
Now they're scrambling. They're on Google going, what is a pitch deck? What is a pitch deck look like? What is an executive summary?
So for me, as far as mentoring goes, is definitely my kids, and I learn just as much from them. They're such good kids. But if someone really wants that, they have to fight for it. My time's valuable. If they fight for it, I'll give it to them.
That is the most valuable thing I have, is my time. So valuable. Yeah. So valuable. Next question. So your company is doing incredibly well. I mean, incredibly well. I love how I'm like, we're hanging out one time. He's like, oh, go to the Raiders games. I'm like, yeah, we have 4 tickets, like 118, whatever, blah, blah. He's like, oh, dude, you got to come up to the suite. I'm like, okay, this fucking guy. He's killing it. So I get it. So there it is. The company, though. So long-term goal with the company. Are you looking for an exit? Are you looking to hand it down? Or what are you looking?
No, I'm not handing down. He can buy it if he'd like, but
good answer, Dad. Good answer.
But no, I don't think he'll do his own. All my kids, they'll do their own thing, I think. But I will say, my role or job at Horizon, I love our team, and so I would love to build it out for another 5 to 7 years. I'd like to double the business, what we've done in the last 14 in the next 5 to 7, and then probably exit. But when I exit, I feel like I'm going to jump right back into it.
Well, you're going to get stuck for a minute, right?
Yeah, I love it. I love that it's a new subject still 40 years later. This is something that's been around since the 70s, and it's still new to 90% of America. So I like this place. And look, I'm a low-hanging fruit kind of guy. I'm definitely not the smartest guy. And so I've just found an area that is unique. It's a little harder to get into, and it's not as exciting as other subjects for most people.
Yeah.
And I'm hanging out.
Well, that's where the money always is. It's never in the flashy stuff, unless you're a rapper.
And that's not very flashy right now.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mean, so we make a little bit of money, but on a lot of accounts. And so it's just about getting as many accounts as possible. I love our staff.
How are you growing the company? How are you growing it?
I'm new to social media. I've just learned what it is, kind of, and so I'd say most of it has been through affiliates, relationships, and events. I would love to say that it's through Google ads and us buying whatever. We're not good at that. Mm-hmm. So it's all, I would say it's 75% is affiliates and events, and referrals.
So let's see if we can talk through how to scale this thing, if I can have some ideas with it. First of all, if somebody refers you business, if somebody sends you self-directed IRA business, what is the legality behind you paying referrals on that business?
Oh, we can pay a one-time fee. There's no legality there. Our client typically comes to us because if we were to pay a fee, like a marketing fee, it's small. So I'm paying you $250. That doesn't get you excited. But if I were to go and say, hey, John, you've got this, this podcast and you've got all these listeners, and John, you have a real estate fund you're trying to raise $10 million for. How about we do a podcast together and you talk about your fund and we talk about self-directing. And now all of a sudden we've introduced a subject to help you raise $5 or $10 million or more into your fund. That's more of interest and more valuable to you to have $10 million in your fund. So that's typically
the way you're going,
how I've been doing it.
Well, what I'm going to say is, like, if you look at the influencer market and you look at a lot of podcasts, you look at these things, when you start to rank in the top 20, like some of us do.
Congratulations.
A lot of these, a lot of podcasts are charging for appearance. Greg did not pay me to be here today. He's my friend. He's here because I want him here, but they charge for appearances. But I find that with me, I don't ever want to charge for an appearance. I don't like that. But if it's a product that I do like affiliate links, because I'm like, okay, let's work together. And then if my listener base appreciates what you're doing, then we can make some money together. And I think that
we have that, by the way. We do affiliate.
Oh, you do affiliate programs.
We have affiliate programs to get links.
I'd be promoting that like crazy through social media to people.
Promoting it to influencers?
1,000%, man. I would be going to, because what you can do is, I would say, here's the
getting a check for $500 is valuable? because
it adds up. Because they're not just pushing one thing, but if you look at somebody, take somebody that's an influencer in the space, right? That might want to do a fund or might not want to do a fund or might want to do something later. There's a lot more opportunity for them with a big audience and a big microphone. You look at some of the big real estate investor, bigger pockets, those type guys that have large real estate strictly listing bases. I think if you went to them and said, hey, look, I'll do an affiliate deal with you where everybody that we drive from your sites, your stuff, because they, like bigger boxes, I'm using it as an example. I don't know if they're interested or not, but their educational websites, their stuff, it would be very advantageous for them.
So how would you go to all these influencers who I don't know? They
DM.
Well, I was going to say, but they get 1 million DMs. So what makes me different than someone else on a DM? Or is it as simple as just DMing?
It's as simple as a DM. It's volume. You don't do it. You get an assistant to do it.
I'm not saying me, but no,
you get an assistant to do it. But every single time, and also what I would say is, I would have ManyChat running your Instagram DMs. So when you do a story, instead of saying hey, my link is in the bio, say, if you want to be an affiliate to our company where you can earn money and just share this link out. All you have to do is just comment back affiliate or comment back link, and then ManyChat will automatically send them through a funnel you can process them on.
ManyChat
is what you want to use.
I'm still
you're learning. No, it's good, but
this is good. This is a nugget I'll take back.
Yeah, but you're capturing those people and moving them now into a funnel that you can market to them, because you don't even necessarily need to have the 10 biggest influencers. You could have 50,000 micro influencers.
I'd rather that.
That are great.
Stops, then your business is.
Yes, because then all you have to do is say, look, to be an affiliate, this is just what I would do. We're spitballing here. To be an affiliate, you fill out a form. We've got to make sure you have some sort of a following.
We do our due diligence on it.
Doesn't have to be a lot. You can't be a scammer. You can't. Baller Busters cannot have done a feature on you recently. And then from there, we'll send you a script to just read that says, hey, if anybody's looking to this, blah, 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 blah. If you have funds that are laying around, click this link, talk to these guys. And the value of that would be monster. I think you would grow organically because there's only one of you, right? You come in this podcast, yes, it's going to go out to exponentially a lot of people. But if there was a way to clone you in that way, being able to spread your message, I think you'd kill.
I love it. I'm going to take this and tell my team to do it.
I think you'd crush, man. I think you would.
We're doing well without it, but I want to double what we're doing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If you want to double what you're doing, you got to work on some stuff you haven't done. No, it's not that. You just got to think of some stuff you haven't done before.
Yeah.
I don't know. And look, you're taking advice from a guy that sits in the 118, so just keep that.
You're way more than that, buddy.
Keep that in mind. Anyway. All right. Well, Greg, dude, I appreciate it so much, man. If they want to find out more about you that does not involve a link that I make money from, how do they find you?
There's no affiliate. No. Instagram, Greg Herlean. Just follow me, DM me there. Horizon Trust Company, horizontrust.com is our company website. But just message me.
Even better, if you want an affiliate link, if you want to spread the word amongst your folks,
there you go.
You want to spread the word, spread the good word of the self-directed IRA. People can make more money with their stuff with low risk. Hit him up for that.
Yeah, we'll create an affiliate link for you and go over with you. And yeah, absolutely, we can do that.
That's the bit. That's the pitch. That's the move. That's the move. Cool.
Created here today.
Created right here in real time on the show. Well, brother, it was good to see you, man.
Good to see you, man.
Thanks. I will see you in a couple of weeks in Orange County, and we'll go from there. All right, guys. Make sure you tune in again next week. And remember, man, if you got to make moves, you can't drift along with the currents of life. You got to start swimming against the current. Take control of what you're doing. We'll see you next week. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another episode of Escaping the Drift. Hope you got a bunch out of it, or at least as much as I did out of it. Anyway, if you want to learn more about the show, you can always go over to escapingthedrift.com. You can join our mailing list. But do me a favor, if you wouldn't mind, throw up that 5-star review, give us a share, do something, man. We're here for you. Hopefully, you'll be here for us. But anyway, in the meantime, we will see you at the next episode.